Okay, you want to know something that I don't think we talk about very often enough, and that is how to deal with a narcissistic boss. I have some very good lived experience for this that I can help you out on. First, it's story time. Walk with me. So I actually was working with this company, and I was working with this lady. She was the manager. I was the assistant manager. And for the first really year of working with her, it was kind of like she and I were like best friends. Like, we ran everything together really well for the most part. She wasn't super good at the organization part of management, but she was really good at the sales training things and all that, whatever. But I was good at the organizing, so we balanced each other out really well. If y'all can see how messy my place is, I apologize. Now, when I was working with her at the time, I was actually actively in my romantic relationship with my narcissistic ex. So I didn't really know about this type of character trait at the time. So I missed a lot of things that, looking back on it now, I'm like, oh wow, yeah, all of the signs were there. Instead of just admitting if she messed up, she would always come up with an excuse, or if she forgot to do something for one of our customers, she would say that she did, but she never really did. She was very quick to throw other people under the bus because she very much liked being the shining star of our company because she had really good sales. And it was very obvious you were either in her good graces or you were not. Fortunately, at the time, I was in her good graces, but looking back on it now, the reason why I was in good graces with her is because I was the only person in the company that could keep up with her when it came to sales and productivity, and I was working in her store, which made her bonus more, so I was benefiting her. Now, the moment that I got promoted and moved to another store and was running my own store, the entire dynamic between me and her changed. So I figured this out because I was training this new girl, and the girl picked up a shift at my old manager's store. And when she came back, she started telling me about all these questions that we'll just call her Manager A, because I don't want to use her name, that Manager A was asking her. And she was asking about things that I was teaching her. And at one point in time, she actually made a comment to someone in my staff. She was like, yeah, Trey, he's such an effing bitch. And mind you, we still text all the time. We're still besties and all this stuff. And I even asked, I was like,
was she joking around?
And she was like, no, she was irritated. Why was she so irritated? Because my employee told her that she learned more with me than she did with anybody else, and she was also trained by Manager A. It hurt her ego. There was a lot more that happened, but essentially I just kept getting all this feedback about things that Manager A was saying about me. And honestly, at this point in time, when I got my promotion, I had already ended my relationship with my narcissistic ex, so I had already started to learn about these types of people. So fortunately, I knew by this point that it was going to be a total waste of my time to try to talk to her or hold her accountable or anything like that. Now here's where it got tricky. This was at the point in my healing where I hadn't figured anything out yet, so I was just kind of hot mess express. And if I'm completely honest with you guys, I was not a very reliable manager. And so my boss and I talked, and we decided that I was just going to, instead of being a store manager, I was going to be what's called a sales manager and just travel around the stores. But then my home store was going to be, guess where, with Manager A's store. So this is going to be the store that I'm predominantly at again after this bitch has been talking crap about me and all of this stuff. And I'm how do I deal with her? If you're in a position where you just can't go and get another job and you have to learn how to manage the situation, the biggest thing that you can do that is always going to be on your side dealing with narcissistic and toxic bosses is to fluff their pillow. Let's say that you want something to be changed or operations need to be adjusted or something like that. Bring it up to them in a way that it makes it sound like it's their idea. Do not ever, 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 ever talk bad about your boss to your coworkers, because 100% guaranteed they're going to have some of your coworkers that are in their corner, just like how I was, and potentially just how you were at the beginning, and it's going to get back to them. Don't put yourself in a position where they can throw you under the bus, because if you open your mouth and use their name in a sentence at all, you are subject to be thrown under the bus. But if you know for a fact that you've kept your mouth shut and nobody has any kind of proof, then you're helping yourself a lot more. So with me and Manager A, we would have 2 or 3 hours on a shift of mine where we overlapped a little bit. During those 2 to 3 hours, I really didn't initiate a whole lot of conversation with her, but if she did initiate with me, I was cordial, I was polite, I was very HR-y. I would ask her how her week's been, how her weekend was, how's her daughter, this and that, but I wouldn't talk about me or my situation or anything at all regards. But as far as anything related to me or my life, I didn't bring it up. Because again, with narcissistic and toxic people, anything that you say can and will be used against you. The last thing in the world that I wanted to do was put myself in a position where it looked like I was crossing professional boundaries. Now look, if an 8-hour shift, I only have to deal with my boss for 3 of those hours, I can toughen up 3 hours and put on the fake smile and all of that, and then I have the rest of my day without them. Make things convenient for them. If you need them to sign some sort of paperwork or something, ask them like, hey, I know you're really busy and you have a lot going on, but I do need this signed. What time would be the best time to bring it over to you? Don't just pop in and say like, hey, I need you to sign this, because that's setting you up to get probably yelled at. Because they're just so busy and they're so important, they don't have time for your form. It also gives them a sense of being in charge. Remember, narcissistic and toxic people are all about a God complex and being significant. And unfortunately, if you're not in a position to go get another job right now, you just kind of have to play that game. And again, it's a balancing act because you don't necessarily want to be insincere, but you do have to play the game a little bit just in order to make it by until you can figure something else out.